May I help you?" "No, thanks, it's light." Marina quickly placed her bag on the top shelf and only then looked down at the man sitting in front of her. He was quite handsome, with a pleasant smile and intelligent blue eyes. The stranger appeared to be about 40, the same age as her. Nevertheless, this was not a reason for hasty introductions, especially since Marina did not want to talk to him. Maybe a few years ago she would have been happy to chat with such a man as her neighbour. But now she just wanted to sleep, to shorten the flight time. She couldn't wait to go home, where her beloved husband George was waiting for her. "Do you want to sit by the window?" the man asked. Marina gratefully smiled and nodded. She was not going to continue the conversation with her neighbour, despite his kindness, but he started talking again. "My name is Stephen, and you?" "My name is Marina," the woman said, and realizing that she could not avoid the conversation, continued, "My father was a captain of long-haul navigation and spent his whole life sailing the seas and oceans. My mother and I waited for him at home. He dreamed that he would have a boy who would also become a sailor, but I was born. That's why I was named that. But Marina didn't have time to finish because Stephen's phone vibrated instantly. He apologized and answered the call. "Yes, Mummy. Yes, don't worry, everything is fine with me. I'm already on the plane and can't talk for long. Of course, as soon as I land I will definitely call you back. Okay, Mum. Kiss you, hug you. I love you very much too." Finishing the conversation, Stephen smiled. "You probably think I am a classic mommy's boy. Don't apologize. I would have thought the same. Although in reality everything is a little different. My mother has been living in Spain with my older sister for 5 years now. Recently, she had a jubilee, 80 years old, and I couldn't help but visit her, although I fly there twice a year anyway. I am a late child, so my mother is more attached to me than necessary, but you probably understand her. Is it inherent in all mothers?" "I don't have children," Marina said, turning away so that Stephen would not notice the expression on her face, and he, succumbing to an impulse, put his hand on hers. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude." "But at least you have your parents, and that means you're a child to them," Stephen said, but Marina looked him straight in the eye. "I don't have parents either. After the injury, my father had to forget about the sea and ships, but it was simply unbearable for him. On land he couldn't find himself, so he didn't live, but existed. It only lasted 2 years, but to him it felt like an eternity. He told me about it himself. Don't get me wrong, he loved us very much, my mum and me. He gave me a good start in life and helped me get a prestigious profession. But for someone who spent his entire life at sea, an ordinary, even wealthy life was a burden. After 2 years he had gone, and my mum couldn't accept it. She cried all the time and said that she was used to waiting for him, but now he is waiting for her." Marina sighed. "My mum outlived my dad by only 40 days, and her last words were, 'I don't want to make him wait.' She just faded away, like a candle in the wind." "Such a sad story," Stephen said. "I've never heard anything like it. Although after my father's death, my mum also never remarried, despite having admirers. She's charming, elegant and intelligent, even at such an old age." Marina nodded. "It turns out that our parents were lucky to have found the love of their lives and carried it through all these years." "Yes, I'm not like them," Stephen admitted. "I had been married for 7 years, but it ended in divorce. It was a peaceful divorce without mutual accusations and insults. We just went our separate ways. We didn't have children, and we each had our own property, so there was no problems." Marina smiled understandingly. "That's good when it's like that." She turned back to the window and fell silent for a long time, thinking about how she had never been lucky in love. Marina had been a withdrawn child since childhood, and her mother was largely to blame. The captain's wife saw the birth of her daughter as an opportunity to keep the family together, and she transferred her already strong love for her husband to their daughter. Helen surrounded Marina with such dense care that it completely deprived the girl of friends and a normal childhood. Marina never played outside, didn't meet boys, and never hung out with peers, except at school. All of her spare time, which was scarce due to the huge number of extracurricular activities, she spent at home with a book in her hands. She read a lot, immersing herself in the plot of the works and imagining herself in the place of the main heroines. She dreamed that one day she would have such an interesting life. Marina especially loved novels by Hugo, Dumas, Bronte, Scott, and other writers who depicted incredible romantic love. In her mind, she painted a portrait of a handsome, strong, brave, and very gentle man who would one day conquer her heart. However, modern men were not like her favourite heroes, and behind their attractive appearance often hid small or petty souls. Marina fell in love for the first time while studying in her first year of university. Elliot was her classmate and the most ordinary rich kid who was not used to being refused, and Marina was precisely the one who hooked him by refusing to go on a date with him. Elliot was stunned, hearing the rejection from this beautiful but silent girl, not even realizing that she'd almost died of embarrassment and delight when he invited her to take a walk. "Do you really not want to go out with me?" he asked, surprised. "I'm busy," the girl muttered. "I'm going to German class, and then I have solfeggio." "What's solfeggio?" Elliot's eyebrows raised. "Well, it's a class in music school. With these lessons you can develop musical memory and hearing," Marina explained, still feeling embarrassed. "And you really find that interesting?" "I don't believe it," exclaimed Elliot. "My mum wants me to be well-rounded. That's why she insisted on private music lessons." "Oh, I see. Mums are like that. Listen, have you ever skipped class?" Marina shook her head. "Then let's do it right now," Elliot suggested, taking her hand. Marina helplessly looked back at the classroom, filling with students. "They'll manage without us." Elliot laughed and decisively pulled her along. They spent the whole day together, trying almost all the rides in the park, having lunch and dinner at cafes, and even kissing in a dimly lit cinema, forgetting about the film they came to watch. When she finally got home in the evening, Marina, impressed by the day, fell onto the bed, and Elliot's image came to her mind again. He was kind, attentive, caring, and so handsome. Marina fell in love with him head over heels. Finally, she met him, her prince, and now she would be happy with him for the rest of her life. Even her mother, who watched her closely, couldn't do anything about her daughter's infatuation. Elliot had completely swept Marina off her feet, and so it was more painful for her to find out that she had trusted this handsome man in vain, because he quickly grew cold towards the naive girl after achieving what he wanted. He preferred clubs, countless one-night stands, car races through the city at night, wild parties with friends, and in the midst of his bright life, Marina seemed boring and dull to him. "Do you no longer love me?" she asked him one day, peering into his eyes with her own grey ones, beneath which shadows had appeared. "I've never loved you," Elliot replied with a smirk. "You made up this nonsense yourself." Marina shuddered, as if he had struck her. Elliot had expected her to throw a tantrum, to plead with him not to leave her, to confess her love. Instead, she simply turned and walked away, not even glancing back once. He never found out about her pregnancy, and no one, not even her mother, suspected Marina's secret. The girl found a doctor who helped her get rid of the problem. At that time, she didn't even know that she had permanently lost the chance to become a mother. Marina spent several days in bed after the operation, deceiving her mother with a common malaise. To avoid Helen bothering her, she said she had broken up with Elliot. This explained Marina's depressed mood, and her mother finally left her alone. Marina devoted herself entirely to her studies and paid no attention to Elliot anymore. She managed to get over him, but part of her soul remained forever scorched. Now, after so many years, Marina thought that she should have acted differently and kept the baby. Perhaps she should have left her family, because neither her father nor mother would have understood her. Maybe she should have given up her studies and even left town to avoid shame. However, Marina, who had grown up in hothouse conditions, was not equipped to face life's challenges, so she gave up in the face of difficulties. Why was she remembering all this now? Marina didn't know. In fact, she had never forgotten it and had never forgiven herself for her actions. After Elliot, she couldn't trust anyone for a long time, until Lionel appeared in her life. As it turned out, he was not looking for love, but for prosperity, which Marina could provide. She quickly realized this and broke up with him, receiving another scar on her heart. There were other men in her life, but all of them somehow disappointed Marina, and in the end she decided to stay alone. Now she was a successful businesswoman, conducting business not only in her country but also abroad, and often went on business trips. One day someone called out to her at the airport. She turned around and was surprised to see Elliot. "Marina, you look stunning. Where are you headed?" He couldn't hide his admiration. "To Japan." Marina was not happy about this meeting, but she looked at her former love with curiosity. Elliot's business was clearly not going well. He had gained weight, was unshaven, and his shirt was clearly not fresh. "And you?" she asked. "I'm not going anywhere. I work here," Elliot replied. "I see. Well, Elliot, sorry, I have to go." "Marina, maybe we could meet up?" She shook her head, like before, turned around and left. He stood there for a long time watching her go and thinking about how many years ago he missed the chance to be with this gorgeous woman. As if in reward for the newly experienced suffering, Marina met George immediately after returning from the trip. He worked as a system administrator and had recently arrived in her city. He approached Marina on the street to clarify the location of the address he needed. They started talking and decided to continue their conversation in a cafe over a cup of coffee. Longing for love, Marina trusted this feeling again, and it did not fail her. For several years now, she and George have been together and happy. Although Marina provided for her family, her husband endlessly showed her signs of attention, brought breakfast in bed, met her at home with a delicious dinner, gave flowers and small but pleasant gifts. Remembering this, Marina smiled, and Stephen noticed it and thought, "What a beautiful but sad woman." However, when she starts to smile, her face lights up like the sun. But when the plane landed, he couldn't resist and offered to exchange phone numbers with Marina. "I am married." She shook her head and left, getting lost in the crowd. Marina didn't call George to warn him about her return, and was very surprised when she arrived home and saw him getting into the car with another woman. He leaned down to a stranger. Was it for a kiss? Or maybe just to adjust the seatbelt? Marina couldn't see what was happening in the car, but an unpleasant feeling overwhelmed her. George, not wasting any time, got behind the wheel and drove off without seeing his returned wife. Marina went up to the apartment and immediately noticed the mess. The bed looked as if someone had danced on it, and there were dirty dishes on the table, clearly set for two. Marina picked up the phone, and dialed her husband's number. "Hey, honey!" exclaimed George. "How are you doing? I was just about to call you. Are you okay?" "Yes, and you?" Marina tried to sound calm. "I'm fine too. I just took a shower. I'm about to go to bed. I'm sitting on our bed and thinking about you." "No, George. It's me sitting on our bed." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Have you arrived? When?" George finally asked. "Just now. We missed each other outside. I saw you with another woman. George, can you explain what's going on?" "I'll be right there," he replied and hung up. Half an hour later he arrived and explained everything. "Marina, I have a son. That woman Isabel is her mother. I didn't know about him. She hid her pregnancy from me. Also, we were together only once before you. Recently she found me and started demanding money. Isabel and I have nothing between us. But the boy, I can't abandon him. He has some health problems. I'm renting a place for them and paying for his treatment." Marina understood, but didn't know how to react. After a few days, she demanded that George take her to Isabel and their son. "Okay," George agreed unexpectedly quickly. "I'll just warn Isabel. That's okay, right?" An hour later, Marina and her husband approached a door covered in dirty leather, and George pressed the doorbell. The doorbell was opened by a scruffy old woman in a greasy robe. "Come in," she nodded. "Danny's there. He's sleeping." Marina approached the couch, suffocating from unpleasant smells, and leaned over the small, skinny boy who was sleeping soundly. George stood beside her. "So, do you believe me now? Where's his mother? And who is this woman?" Marina asked. "Isabel went to get some medicine, and this is her mother. Do you want to know anything else? Because it's better to leave now and let Danny sleep." Marina headed for the exit, and the old woman hurried after her. "When are you taking him?" she asked. "We'll take him, but I need to talk to my wife first," George replied. The woman looked at him bewilderedly, but he had already left the stairwell. On the way home, Marina told her husband, "Tomorrow morning I'm leaving on a business trip for a couple of days, and when I come back, we'll take Danny to the hospital ourselves. Let him have a full examination. I'll pay for his treatment." "Thank you, my dear." George took Marina's hand and kissed her. "You're the best, and I love you very much." In the morning, Marina left without waking George. She didn't even suspect that she was seeing him for the last time. When she returned home from her trip, she was shocked to find the empty, ransacked apartment. George had stolen everything valuable that he could. Only the safe was beyond his abilities. He never learned the code. Marina grinned bitterly. The last night ran away. Well, I guess it's my fate to be a lonely princess. She decided to go to where Isabel lived because she was sure that George had gone to her, but the same old lady opened the door again. "Where are George and Isabel?" Marina asked him. "How should I know?" the dissatisfied old woman replied. "But Isabel's your daughter," Marina exclaimed incredulously. "Are you crazy?" the old woman snapped. "I have no one. And Isabel was renting an apartment across. Yesterday she left with her boyfriend George." "What about their son Danny?" Marina asked, unable to understand what was happening. "You are really insane. Danny's mother is my cousin's grandmother. We buried her a couple of weeks ago and Danny stayed with me. The guardianship promised to take him. I was glad because I don't need the boy. I'm old and sick. What can I give him? Yesterday Isabel came running, then saying that the guardianship would come and take him away now. And instead of the guardianship, you came." At that moment, a little boy appeared in the doorway and stared at Marina with huge grey eyes. "Do you have his documents?" Marina asked, feeling her heart skip a beat. She sat down in front of the little one and reached out to him, saying, "I'll be your mother from now on." The boy ran to her, tightly hugging her neck. With him in her arms, Marina wrote down her address so that the guardianship would know where the child was, then took his documents and, under the relieved sighs of the old woman, left. For a few days she got used to the idea that she would now have a son. She gave instructions to her lawyer to start the adoption process and began taking care of Danny. She took him to a children's hair salon, bought him clothes and toys, and made an appointment with a doctor. At the appointed time, Marina walked into the doctor's office with Danny in her arms and gasped when she saw Stephen. "I've been looking for you," he said, smiling. "Is this your son? You said you had no children, but you had a husband." "Now it's the other way round," Marina replied. "I no longer have a husband, but I have a son, and I'm so happy about it." Danny turned out to be perfectly healthy, albeit emaciated, but under Stephen's watchful eye, he quickly recovered, and Marina was truly grateful to him for that. A year passed. Marina and Stephen were married, and Danny was their beloved son. The boy paid them back with boundless love. One day, while having breakfast, Marina turned on the news and saw a familiar face, her ex-husband George. He was caught up in some fraud and now faced a serious sentence. Marina shook her head. Everyone chooses their own path in life, and fate itself punishes or rewards people for their actions.